Over the past week, I decided to listen to every house producer and label out there, and what I found is that every one of them is using at least 5 tricks to make their music sound way better. So in this video, I decided to share with you everything I learned so you can apply and create better music. So stick with me till the end of this video. But before we start, if you're looking for some great sounds, you can check out the Tech House Master Bundle 2024 edition, the biggest sample pack of the year. You can check it out on our website. And now let's get straight to the point. Now, the first thing that I want to share with you is about that question that everybody has, which is how can I make the bass more present on every device? Like why I can't hear the bass through my phone speaker. And this is not because the bass is extremely loud or extremely good. It's most of the time because of saturation. So applying saturation on your bass can definitely change everything. So here are a few examples of before and after applying saturation on my bass line. So listen closely. So without a doubt, you can hear that the sound got more color, got more presence. So yeah, definitely you should try this. It's a game changer. Okay, now the next thing that I want to talk about is the low end. So in music, there's this thing called the low end war. It's a battle between the kick and the bass. And usually in house music, the kick wins most of the time. And both the kick and bass should have their own jobs, not fight each other. So if I want to get a nice, clean and balanced mix between these two instruments, I need to pay attention to the frequency spectrum. This is especially useful to see exactly where my bass and kick are overlapping. For example, let's take a listen to this and get some information. Okay, so as you can see, there is this area between 50 to 100 Hertz where both of them are competing. So to fix this, I'm going to add an EQ on the bass and create a small frequency gap right here, so I can leave some space for the kick to breathe. So this is before, and this is after leaving some space for the kick. So as you can hear, there's a small but very impactful difference. The bass is still there, it's still loud, but the kick doesn't get muddy. If you're listening to this on studio monitors, you can't really tell the difference, but on big sound systems where there's a lot of low end, it's a game changer, so definitely you should try this. Now, the next tip that I want to show you is about swing. For example, I do this most of the time with my close hats because I really like that off-grid vibe, so I just have this simple hi-hat loop. And then I press Ctrl plus A to select all of them, and I move them a little bit offside, not too much. You can also do this using the knob right here in the channel rack if you're using FL Studio. Then what I like to do is to pan every note from left to right to give it more variety. And then I just play with the velocity of the notes until I get that organic sound and rhythm. And now everything together with all the other instruments sounds like this. So you know that everyone wants their music to be really loud these days. Well, it's still a big thing, and if you want a track to get noticed, it's gotta be loud too. So in general, house music is defined by the drums. Those are the loudest elements in the track. And because of that, for example, when you're picking out a snare or a clap for your drum loop, you gotta think about the dynamics of the sound. If it's super punchy, it might clash with the kick drum, which is like the main subject in your track. Also, if the snare or clap hits at the same time as the kick right here, it can cause some problems as well. It makes your limiter work extra hard, which can mess up with your sound. So it's essentially making your drums weaker by making sure they're not going to distortion. So this is an example of how your drums might sound. And you might think that everything is okay, but they're hitting the exact same spot and at the same time, so none of them are getting noticed. But there's an easy fix for this. You can either pick a snare or a clap that doesn't hit so hard right at the beginning, or what I like to do is to move it a little bit offbeat, so this way it doesn't clash with the kick as much. So yeah, try it out and you will see that your music, your drums can get louder and cleaner without getting into distortion and without getting weaker. Now, moving on to the next technique, this is something that I like to do every time I want that huge build up, you know, that energy before the drop, like everybody gets excited. So this technique is used so many times in drum and bass, but it works really great with this genre as well. So basically what I like to do is automate the reverb. It's that simple. So I just take the wet and decay slider, and I create an automation clip, and then I make this kind of ramp until the drop starts. So this is essentially making everything sound more intense before the drop. So let's listen to how it sounds before. And how it sounds now. Okay, that was cool, so it's a big difference. Now, the next technique that I want to share with you is used by every major artist, and is one of the main reasons why all of their tracks got that signature and their own vibe. And it's all about bussing all of your drums together. So that is going to allow you to process all of your drums as one single element. So you can apply your effects, your signature sound on everything at once. So the first thing to make sure is that all of your drum elements are in one track. So I'm going to quickly walk you through my processing chain and show you all the effects and plugins that I'm using to achieve that sound. So first, I got a simple compressor, which I'm not using it every time, but sometimes it does help, with a ratio of 3.2, 3.6 sometimes, and then a threshold between 5, 15 most of the time, so I keep things simple. Next, I add some saturation, not too much, just a little bit to make everything more present and colorful, and I look for a boost of maximum 1.5 dB, so yeah, not too much. Next, I add some subtle distortion with 30% threshold, and then I turn the overall volume down here 30% as well, just a little bit to give it some texture to the sound. And sometimes I add an EQ and I get rid of the boxiness sound, so I create a small minus 1.5 gap where I hear a lot of muddiness, and then I boost another 1.5 in the exact same spot. So I create this kind of like gap, and then I like to boost the highs, maybe 1.5 dB most of the time. So yeah, that's all my mixing chain. So yeah, I don't have too much stuff going on. It's really simple. The next tip that I want to talk about is one of the coolest things you can do for your own tracks, which is experimenting. So for example, let's find some one-shot sounds. And now let's go to the piano roll, and the idea is that I have no idea what I'm doing, but let's play some random notes. Let's also play with the velocity. We can add different effects. For example, let's add some chorus, some reverb, distortion maybe, and some sidechain to get a bumping effect. Now, if you play the full track, you can hear how we got that interesting sound. And this is how you can create your own signature sound. Just try random stuff. You can literally sample every sound you want and just have fun with it. And if it sounds great, then go with it. I hope you learned something from this video. If you're looking for some great sounds, make sure to check out the Tech House Master Bundle on our website. And if you want to see my full process of creating a Tech House track and passing down some knowledge, you can check out this video right here. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe, and see you next time.